2. Introduction. This is where I come in. As a business book ghostwriter, I've worked with experts at the top of their field to get their ideas out of their head and onto the printed page. Over the years, I've noticed a pattern in how the books of these successful entrepreneurs came to be published. Although the steps they took to create their books were unique, the same critical activities emerged over and over again. Based on these patterns, I created this guide to help you take your idea from a nebulous, "wouldn't it be cool if," to "where can I find your book? I could really use this information right now." You have an amazing idea for a non-fiction book. You can envision exactly what this book will do for your business and your life. You recognize that having a non-fiction book will separate you from the millions of other solo entrepreneurs out in the world. But there's a problem. You're an expert in your field, and you're busy with your current business. You don't have time to write a book. You don't even know where to begin. Part 1. Nurturing your creative idea. Write with this fearlessness and enthusiasm, which children apply freely, then lose when they become adults. Rediscover it. Dare to have passion about an idea. It's what will differentiate you from all the would-be experts and critics and academicians. They sit smug in their typically simple little black and white boxes, confined and thinking over thoughts that someone else had long ago. Step as far out of the box as is possible, then dance on it. Your accumulating idea is absolutely the best in the world, and everyone else's ideas would only predominate if you started believing in them instead of your own. You should never be interested in discussion about whose ideas are better, because the simple fact is that they aren't. Consider a small child with the idea of something that he may someday do, be it jumping the highest or running the fastest. He never hesitates or looks for flaws. Rather, he burns with eagerness and sees where he might get to, and then falls headlong and for the moment forgets everything else. Strangely, only children seem to really understand this when they are high on the crackling 5-alarm fire that sears away all doubt and care. It's an all-consuming sense of can-do, even if you crash. You don't have time to be afraid or to doubt. 2.1. Chapter 1. Generating and refining ideas. Search for the truth inside yourself. Get rid of dreary ideas and any traces of mediocrity. Avoid following any latest bestsellers and don't restrict yourself to recognized book types. However, stay in touch with bookshops, libraries, and even the New York Times Book Review, because many authors draw attention to subjects you never thought of. Be ready to tackle any subject. Consider intriguing individuals. Explore activities. Ask what those men and women wish for, what bothers them, what gives them joy or misery. What do they dread or hope? The responses could mature into everyone's next great book. Many writers struggle with writer's block or with developing something distinctive. But there are requirements that even the most experienced storyteller can rely on when you need a jump start. You're familiar with it. Use these thoughts and the tasks that follow to help you figure out what you want to write. Separate yourself from your book for a while and remain impartial. Don't feel guilty if you dismiss some of your ideas. By drawing indications from all over your life plus present occupations, you can open numerous intellectually, mentally, and deeply satisfying solutions. 2.2. Chapter 2. Understanding your audience. Imagine writing a book on Java programming language with exactly the same content of one written in the 70s, but language, thus technology and concepts, known at that time. How would you expect your Python enthusiast readers to understand such a book? The less your book focuses on one particular specific audience, the less chance it will have to stand out and attract the public you want. If you want to write a book on the history of the United States, you should be quite good on history, while if you want to write a sci-fi book, you should be fascinating in the first place, and know the history of the US only to a lesser degree. You need to be aware of the target audience of your book, knowing their main characteristics and mainly their interests. And you have to focus on their interests before anything else. First of all, an important question: what is your idea about? In other words, does the book you want to write address a particular problem, or is it science fiction? Do you intend to close a gap? challenge an established viewpoint, or educate people about something. It is vital to analyze whether or not your idea fills a need. Without an audience to address, your book will be meaningless because it won't be worth the effort to write. Given that writing a book can take months or even years, and considerable time and energy will have to be devoted to produce it, you need to understand beforehand the audience that your book targets. The fact that the book market is today both overcrowded and fragmented makes the task of defining the audience even harder. Part 2. Crafting your manuscript. In this section, we'll discuss the issues involved with the inside pages of your book. This part is concerned with the design and mechanics of your manuscript, and not with the creative and content aspect of your writing. It covers the workings of your manuscript, not the heart nor the soul of it. When I address visual aesthetics or readability, the speaking points are merely general indicators or issues to increase your awareness of those certain sections that books are made of, considering that many of these components are sorted by a book designer. Always pay attention to the little details of books. Your book is judged first by its cover, but instantly thereafter by the inside pages. These often overlooked, unwritten aspects of publishing require a great deal of attention under the hood, or rather, under the cover. If you do not pay attention to these facets, distributors may, which would probably result in your book not gaining the exposure that it would and should from an indifferent distributor. Here are some great options for book formatting. Economy. Premium. 3.1. Chapter 3. Developing compelling characters. For every role in your story, you have two options. Option 1 is to create the perfect character, the actor that can perform the lines of the role with main performance potential. Option 2 is to create a character, any character who minimally fills the role. You can perfect him later. Chances are that you will do a combination of both. Not all characters in your story need the same level of detail when you start creating them, especially not at the start. Some of the most interesting minor characters are created when they grow from an idea while the story unfolds. In this part, you are going to brainstorm basic ideas for your main characters. This chapter will give you an overview of the steps and considerations. The following chapters will analyze these steps in detail. Every story is unique, but most feature protagonists that you root for and opponents that you root against. They are also often supported by a cast of additional characters, such as families, friends, or colleagues. Every character needs to fit in with the story you have in mind. A convincing character has an agenda of his own, is credible in his behavior, and has at least some depth. 3.2. Chapter 4. Building engaging plotlines. But let's just get back to plotlines because they are so important. And rather than just glancing over them, let's build them with some pragmatism, use their structure to help tell that story in the best possible way. We talked about plot, the things that happen to a character and how they change as a result. We said this is effectively your story, and used a couple of books and some movies to illustrate the effect. I also mentioned a few universal plotlines that crop up time and time again in stories. Last time we said these don't matter, that what really matters is the unique combination of characters and how they work through the universal change. In this world of stories, those that add the most value always win. In previous books, we discussed a number of ways to do so. In this one, we are talking about characters over and over again. It's the recurring topic of most books on writing, and we are at risk of getting to a point where we're not saying anything new. Part 3. Editing and polishing your work. Avoid using passive voice, unnecessary adverbs, and meaningless dialogue. Revise your piece until it exudes tension and is polished to perfection. Aim for your entire story to be filled with tension and drama, not just the action scenes. The more you refine your work, the more your unique style and voice will stand out. Decide consciously whether to include Chekhov's rifle or the Chekhov's rifle. These choices will shape your identity as a writer. When I first started writing fiction, I would finish a story, print it, and then place it on a shelf for later review. Only once do I remember editing a story before submitting it for rejection. That story ended up in the also ran stack indefinitely. I wouldn't do that now. As a professional, it is important to write a story effectively, then refine it thoroughly before moving on. Otherwise, you will accumulate a collection of stories that will not bring you any success. Here are some great options for book editing. Economy. Premium. 4.1. Chapter 5: Self-Editing Techniques. It's important to mention that there is no value in using self-editing techniques before the novel has been completed. It provides more of a pat on the back than it does value, unless of course it's a refresher of where you last left off. And that's something that we certainly recommend doing. Can you tell what direction you were headed in just by skimming a chapter that you last laid eyes on weeks to months ago? Do you know how impressed and accomplished you will feel once it is completely finished? You are going to move mountains. This step will also help you to stay connected to the novel during those rushed, hectic or challenging periods of self-doubt that every writer experiences. Your story is burning within, fighting to get out. You don't need to hold up your process any longer. As writers, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. It's unlikely that anyone will ever really be able to edit a manuscript better than the original author. After all, who knows the character's backstory and processes of the story better than the one who created it? The most successful self-editing techniques come from being able to disassociate from the manuscript long enough to edit with others' senses in mind. We need to put ourselves in multiple positions. Our niche may be in the creative area, but nothing is ever going to be perfect in this world. We need to be accountable for our work and clear away any blemishes before the world sees it. 4.2. Chapter 6: Working with Professional Editors. For writers who are well past their stage of needing structural revisions, who have revised numerous times, and who have written several projects, I have a different perspective on the self-editing phase. You possess a level of craft and objectivity that others may not, but that does not mean to cut corners. At some point you need an outside perspective, whether that person is an agent, a critique partner, or a professionally hired editor. The level and type of editing may change, but every project needs more than one set of eyes. To the writers who say that it is necessary to have an outside perspective, I wholeheartedly agree. It is tough for us to be objective about our writing because we are so close to the project, and we can easily misread what we have put on the page. You know what you are trying to convey, so your mind may fill in the blanks when you are reading your work. But what you have is not what the reader sees. You need to find others who can provide an objective perspective. Part 4: Publishing Options. Self-publishing enables you to take control of the creative and business sides of publishing. Self-publishing cuts out the middleman. On the downside, publishing is not your professional specialty, so you have to take care of every aspect yourself. If you ask different people successful in the business, they will all give you different best advice about their best experiences and their highest profits. With self-publishing, you keep more chunk of change, have 100% decision-making, and never have to face a rejection of your manuscript. On the other hand, you have to take on the responsibility for hiring, doing or overseeing every element of book creation. That can include writing, book editing, copy editing, layout, cover design, ISBN, and obtaining prices for printing and marketing and distribution. In summary, the decision as to whether or not to self-publish involves pursuing both long-term and short-term goals and weighing the benefits and the drawbacks. Some of those responsibilities you may want to handle yourself, and for others, you may decide to hire someone to help you. Regardless of what you choose, be sure to obtain a contract. In general, self-publishing one's manuscript opens the door to a financial risk and requires a certain amount of business savvy. Small presses or independent publishers are similar to traditional publishers, in that they pay you to write the book, but they are smaller and more selective. They often pay more attention to the author, and provide more of an editorial help, as well as more of the book's profit. Traditional publishers are the well-known, large publishing houses, and provide much of a book's prestige due to their valuable expertise and deep success roots. They pay you a book advance to publish your work, take care of copy editing, cover design and layout, and then distribute and market your books into bookstores. They make most of the decision-making, while you make very little. There are three main types of publishing options. 1. Traditional publisher. 2. Small press or independent publisher. 3. Self-publishing. 5.1. Chapter 7. Traditional publishing versus self-publishing. The main advantages of independent publishing are full creative control, the ability to own 100% of the sales, and a significantly higher share of sales than a contract with a publisher offers. For example, Amazon pays the author 30% for books for the minimum price, and 70% for books priced between $2.99 to $9.99. In addition, there are no tight timeframes for publication, which means that a book can be released without undue haste, and even with the possibility of better promotion done by the author. Issues such as the quality of cover and editing are the author's personal responsibility, but when competently resolved, they are unlikely to let a self-published book down against a book released by a traditional publisher. If you have a manuscript, and you're ready to turn it into a book, it is time to answer the question, should I look for a publisher or publish it on my own? Traditionally, the benefits of cooperating with a publishing house include advanced work in promoting the book, obtaining useful contacts for new projects, and getting the so-called mass market. Nevertheless, it is important to understand that the share going to the author from book sales varies in different publishing houses, ranging from 5 to 15% on average. In most cases, a starting author receives the minimum percentage in the first contract with a publishing house. Of course, large publishing companies spare no expense by promoting a bestseller, but it is equally difficult to get into their tight publication schedule. 5.2. Chapter 8. Finding literary agents and publishers. But on the other hand, by the same logic, it doesn't work if you refuse to read 300,000 self-published manuscripts. They are taking a risk, and whether you apply to publishers or agents or pay an editor who helps you select your best manuscript, there will be fewer failures, and the survivors will have been pre-filtered and pre-tested and found more successful sooner. So there are good reasons not to be so skeptical. Can you just email your story to an agent or a publisher? No, it doesn't work this way. You need to write a cover letter, also called a query letter, and add a sample of your work if required. Not only should your story be finished and perfect, but your story should also have a specific length, and if your story is longer or shorter, it is not yet a finished article. Once you have a great story that is selling well and receiving good reviews, and also have a finished article that has been polished by a professional editor, you might be interested in finding a publisher or a literary agent. There are many good reasons why you might want to do so. I have read all sorts of claims and conspiracy theories that say this is a scam, and that it costs the publisher or agent nothing, and they should pay the author, so it is wrong that they don't. But if you stop and think for a moment, you will realize that even if the agents and publishers didn't exist, time and resources would still be limited, and publishing wouldn't be entirely meritocratic. It doesn't work to say that if they refuse to read your work, they are making a mistake, and they are throwing away a potential bestseller. Part 5. Marketing and promoting your book. 6a.1. Marketable is the new writable. All the way through writing and completing your book, whether a literary novel, romance, history, science or biography, all authors must market their book. Can it help if you already have a recognized identity in a particular industry or genre? Yes, that is very helpful because it means you know what you are talking about and possibly talking about an issue that is popular. However, these corners can be turned through your association memberships, board memberships, teaching opportunities that surround your career. These contacts and opportunities often also lead to the sale of your book to editors and possibly even agents who are looking for fresh projects and talented authors. Since everyone can't be Sister Teresa, Gandhi and Einstein, but everyone can follow their true gifts and natural talents. These gifts and talents can also be, and often are the subjects of bestsellers. The good news is that if your book has sold to a reputable and well-established publishing house that houses your genre, then 85% of your book-selling work is done. The publishing house, bookseller, and your book's distributor will do everything humanly and professionally possible to promote, sell, and distribute your book. The bad news is that authors must also roll up their sleeves and aid in this promotion, sales, and distribution dynamic. Tools of the trade. Before the first word is written. Immersing yourself into the writing. We're on our first chapter after the book deal. Get to the point. This is it. Here it is, almost. Finale, or how we did it to ourselves. 6.1. Chapter 9, Creating a Marketing Plan. In any business, this process is called the plan. In preparing for publication, it's all about the marketing plan. Just the words marketing and plan when used together in a sentence are enough to cause most writers to cringe, and no wonder. So much of what passes for creativity in the business world seems to be the result of lengthy memos and long meetings. Visions of endless hours are spent on slogans, print ads, radio spots, television commercials, real estate for book expos, and all shades of gimmicks that are meant to push the product. But be advised, marketing is not separate from the process of being creative or insightful. In fact, it's possible that a good plan might even enhance your vision enough to bring some fresh material to the book. This chapter is devoted to helping you understand how marketing really does fit in the grand pattern of bringing your novel home to roost. In the movie City Slickers, Billy Crystal plays an ordinary man who is called on an extraordinary mission. In one key scene, Billy is given the secret to life in the form of a simple line: "It's about one thing." Often, laying one's hands on one secret thing can make all the difference in the world. In planning to get your book done, your one thing is to develop the entire project with an eye toward creating a successful book. 6.2. Chapter 10, Utilizing Social Media and Online Platforms. 6.2.2. The Essentials of a Book Website 1. On the home page, information about the book, cover image, ISBN, release date, publication details. 2. The About the Author section can have a short biography and photograph, or to allow providers like contacts, publicist, agent to provide contact details. 3. Links to the most often visited sites can afford a person the advantages of working with you on many different levels. This helps promotion and personal networking. 6.2.1. Author Essentials. Online presence is a necessity. Persuasiveness is key to social media success. Mindfulness of time and impacts on social media. Fabulous websites are easily created. Beautiful blogs attract all types of readers. Terrific and entertaining podcasts are easier to make than many think. Fun YouTube book trailers entertain and entice readers. The world today is interconnected through social media and the internet. It is easy to connect with people because of different online platforms. This chapter will teach authors about utilizing social media platforms and creating different online resources to inform readers about their book. From a book website to creating a blog or podcast, authors have many different opportunities to create a buzz about their book. Part 6. Building your author platform. Create a website. Use professional-looking HTML in your site. Include information about yourself and your work. Generally, this should include a bio and a publicity picture. Some of you may not have a lot of items for your bio. Fine. Keep it basic. Right now you may have lived in the same place forever, but that will change as you add more credentials to your life. Then add an image of your titles. Provide giveaway items for contests and promotional purposes. This is strictly optional and depends on your available funds. Keep in mind that you may not have a concrete idea about what a good giveaway item for your book will be until after that book is launched, received reviews, and begins to create a dependable fan base. With those first eager readers in hand, think of something they'd enjoy acquiring that can be tied to your book. Finish the first draft of your vow before you proceed beyond these introductory steps. I did say that meeting people at conventions, readings and signings is by far the most effective way of letting readers put a face on the books they've read and loved. Alright. Articles 1 through 6 have laid the groundwork for attracting readers with great writing and presentation, pre-launch and post-launch publicity using press releases, targeted reviewers, interviews and readings, intercepting those casual browsers, emailed newsletters and special sales and discount offers. Some of the ideas mentioned are ongoing projects. Others won't be needed right now. 7.1. Chapter 11. Establishing an online presence. Most authors establish an online presence long before being published, and it's essential that you do so. Potential readers want to know more about you. They want to judge whether you're worth spending time on. Many an author's career has been cemented based on how they're received online. Never forget, we authors are our own best marketing tool. Consumers want the chance to experience your writing and get to know you through blog posts, interviews and news items. Every blog post, tweet and Facebook post must further the brand that is you. As long as it is appropriate. If you write humor or fluffy chick lit, a grumpy post or tweet would be detrimental after all, and you are consistent, you cannot fail to make an impression. True, it can be challenging. Your blog should be about your own area of expertise. It must help to establish you as an expert. It will give readers more of a sense of who you are. Write focused material that enables you to delve deeply into a subject. Keep your posts to a manageable length and publish regularly. If you can't manage 3 full-length blog posts a week, consider doing 3 shorter, chatty posts instead. Apart from your primary blog, create guest blogs with larger established platforms. Your goal is to become recognized as the go-to expert in your area. Use Twitter to tweet about your blog posts, the works of other authors, upcoming events, and industry news. Your Facebook presence should be the same. Make your author page the best possible marketing tool by connecting it with other authors, relevant groups, and major industry influencers. Again, posting about books, release dates, and surveys about why people read and buy books should be less frequent than material reminding fans why they like you in the first place. Start your Google Plus account by adding as many people as you can in your niche. As you become more engaged, add influencers and key people in the publishing industry. Use copy you've already written to create a downloadable ebook for free. Offer it in exchange for an email address. You can use this mailer to send periodic blasts about your upcoming books. Many authors have successfully used this simple tool for marketing. Major online companies for self-publishing are. The significant social media websites are Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Google+. 7.2. Chapter 12. Engaging with readers and building a fanbase. One of the wonderful things about the writing and reading community is that when most successful authors reach stadium status, they don't put a huge moat around it and say no readers beyond this point. Instead, they use their platform to share the love and build up other authors as well. The bigger your fan base, the louder the word-of-mouth buzz they create when you have a new release. A big fan base can speed up your rise to success, rather than leaving you struggling year in and year out. Building good relationships also gives you a network of people who can provide support and advice as you build your author career. There's always someone out there who's facing the same issues and will understand exactly what you're going through, so it makes sense to support each other. Of every writer's favorite part of being an author, we all do it because we want to share our stories with readers. This chapter will look at different ways to engage with readers both online and in person, and talk about what you can do to build a fan base. Let's start by looking at why it's so important to engage with readers in order to build a successful author career. Part 7. Sustaining Success. This strategy also opens up opportunities for creating books and recommendations on completely new topics. As I mentioned in Chapter 1 of this part, it would be an exciting challenge to apply the ideas, concepts, tactics and strategies of from idea to bestseller to completely new topics and new audiences. This book has certainly opened my eyes to how much potential there is for doing that. The opportunities are endless. Spearfishing. Sustaining Success is going to be my last book on spearfishing for a few years. I don't want to keep going around and around on the same topic. There are other things I'd like to write about, and I'd like to give my next spearfishing book a fresh take. I've heard that some authors feel pressured to keep writing books on their most successful topic, and to maintain a non-stop high level of sales on those books. I suspect that for some authors, This might in part be due to having all their eggs in one basket. I also imagine that another part of it is a latent fear that when they stop churning out books on that topic, they'll be dropped by fans and the market. The former is something of a mystery to me. The latter is something I think could be alleviated by simply marketing your work differently and creating stories and experiences for fans, persuading them to follow you, no matter what you're writing about. 8.1. Chapter 13, Long-Term Strategies for Author Growth. By finding and engaging with your reader audience, promoting your books, maintaining a public image that fits your author brand, and exploring new opportunities to grow your influence, you can build a solid base for a long and sustainable career as an author. 4. Patreon and newsletter subscription services. Patreon and other similar subscription services allow you to offer your loyal fans exclusive access to you and your content in return for a regular fee. 3. Apparel, gifts and accessories. Having swag to offer your fans can be a real lift to your merchandise book sales. 2. Courses and workshops. If you have a particular superpower, you can turn that into a course, conduct workshops, or even offer your teaching services to events and festivals. Audiobooks. The great thing about audiobooks was in times past, only traditionally published authors were able to produce them because of costs and logistics. Now, thanks to the rise of audiobook distributors like Audible and ACX, producing an audiobook to go along with your ebook and pod is relatively straightforward and doesn't cost the earth. While authors are prone to putting marketing strategies at the center of their attention, as authors, we need to remember that we're in the business of creativity in the form of writing books. Marketing should supplement the writing process, not replace it. However, if you focus on long-term strategies for author growth, you can carry on writing great books that will sell themselves over time. 8.2. Chapter 14, Overcoming Writer's Block and Creative Slumps. It is the second solution that works well in preventing writer's block, bypassing the causes, or just developing habits that make the worker more able to accept and work with the reality of imperfection. On the practical side, when under pressure, if taking medication is an action or solution, then it's no different than having an ache and swallowing an aspirin to relieve the pain, or having a cough, cold or the flu, and taking cough medicine or other over-the-counter medical relief. With no further ado, here are some of the best strategies, methods and advice that I've come across for dealing with, training your mind to develop commando-like focus, overcoming and preventing writer's block, that you are not a better or different product at the time of your death than you are right now. Because if you are, it'll also make you a better and different product right now, and at every moment and on every project, decision and relationship, until that time of your death, and it definitely brings a force and power to be reckoned with to whatever you turn your hand to. This book began with a discussion on how to overcome writer's block, and I want to end the book with solutions for that stubborn deer-in-the-headlights scenario that occurs more times than we care to count. The first solution to overcoming writer's block is to understand what causes it. The second solution is to bypass the causes, obstacles, by prevention. And the third solution is to work through the block. Those who have writer's block may feel that they are under pressure, or might be viewing the work and the writing process with intense perfectionism, feeling that they need to control the end product of the work itself. Conclusion. Each author's situation will be different, so one step may take weeks or even months as more information is gathered, drafted, or developed. We can help you develop a timeline so that you can make consistent and manageable progress on your book. With that personal assistance, you will have a great chance of being the next author who shares an important idea at the right time. In these pages, you'll learn everything you need to know to move a book from concept to bestseller, publishing and selling options, timeline strategies, and writing tips, among other things. Good luck as you move toward your bestseller. In today's fast-paced world, a book can go from concept to bestseller in just a few months. Getting a book written and released does not have to be very time-consuming if you take a strategic approach. With the right tools and the right mindset, you can share your ideas and stories with potential readers who need to see them. Millions of people use books for their personal and professional growth, and your book could change someone's life in a positive way.